You might be able to take him out of the fight, but you'll never take the fight out of him. Here's a look at McFarlane Toys, DC Multiverse, Gold Label Collection, JSA's Wildcat. In 1941, boxer Ted Grant was framed for murder and on the run when the comic book inspired him to don a costume and track down the real killer. As Wildcat, Ted cleared his name and, loving his double life, kept going. Specializing in sports-related crimes, he often helped his manager Stretch Skinner with the detective agency he ran as a sideline. When those wrists of Grant get taped up, the criminals are going to tap out. Before, though, we get a closer look at the JSA's Wildcat, let's take first the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. A pretty hard-to-find figure, or at least when you could find him, he's going for some pretty crazy monies online. I ended up finding this one actually at a toy show, and I ended up paying about $70. He was originally going for a little bit more than that. I think he was going for $80. I talked the guy down to $70, and even at $70, I knew I probably wasn't going to be finding him for a better price. With the tape measure out now, let's figure out just how tall the figure stands. The answer to that question is 7 inches exactly, or roughly 17.5 centimeters tall. Not only have I always been a fan of Wildcat, but looking at a figure like this does really remind me of the old Mattel DC Universe Classics days. I know I still have a Wildcat. In fact, I actually have a black and a blue version of him, although I couldn't find the whereabouts of either of them at the time of doing the review. In the meantime, though, let's bring in a couple of characters just to show you guys what he looks like stacked up. Here's first what he looks like with the Cape Crusader Batman, a classic go-to Batman. Here's also what he looks like with Deadman. I never really get the chance to bring him in. Here's also what he looks like with Silver Age Hal Jordan, a Blue Beetle. Here's also what he looks like with Silver Age Dr. Fates, a Silver Age Superman, and another figure I never really get the chance to bring him out. Here's also what he looks like with Captain Atom. I have to be honest, I'm a bit underwhelmed with the accessories that come included with Grant. The figure only really comes included with a trading card and a display stand, and no real option is given to swappable hands as a potential possibility. The trading card, though, itself, I gotta say, is also very underwhelming. I don't like the look of this at all, and if you don't like the look of this, it's the same image that we see on the back of the packaging. It almost really does look like, between this blurry background and the very bold black outline that they chose to give Wildcat, that he looks like he should be a guest starring character with an online game. Him just sort of walking around in the background. Hey, is that Wildcat over there? I don't know why they chose to give him as bold of a black line as they did, but it just is one of my least favorite cards, I got to admit, from what we've looked at lately for the DC Multiverse stuff. What at least is a little bit more pleasing is the fact that at least the chunky read on the back gives a good idea of really what the character of Ted Grant is all about and how he became Wildcat. Again, I'm going to be putting this into my trading card sheet, but it's not going to be going front and center. It's going to be, I think, going a little bit further into my binder. Moving that off to the side, I got to also admit as well, I broke the display stand. Probably the first time that this has ever even really happened. Normally, I would show you guys a display stand that looks something like this. A DC logo branded down below, a peg off to the far corner that would plug into either one of the figure's feet. Yet, though, getting this one out of the packaging, I don't know what was wrong with the peg here, but when I put the figure down initially, it went... I thought, wait, what ended up happening here? Somehow the force of the figure's feet, you can see even right now what ended up happening, the force of the figure's feet alone broke the peg. I'm just going to pry this out. I mean, I still have a workable peg hole in the bottom of one of his feet at least. Now, I could have just easily just left this all off. I could have just swapped it out with a serviceable display stand and never at all told you guys what ended up happening, but I wanted to be fully transparent. Literally, again, just put the figure's feet down. I mean, again, I don't know if maybe just the foot hole was way too small. I mean, if you look at the hole on him, and then you look at the peg, yeah, it almost even does look like his hole on his foot is a little too small. That, yeah, I could probably even see why this would have fractured the peg. First time this has ever happened. I'm going to leave this on for at least right now. I don't know if I can actually, see, I'm going to have to take a pair of pliers and I think fish this out. Either way, though, I still got one workable peg hole. That's going to be good enough for me. For the figure's face, it's a really nice looking Wildcat. If you like the character, you're probably really going to like this one a lot. What I don't certainly like, though, is the tagged along price that goes with this guy. $70 is what I paid for him. I've seen him certainly go for a lot more. Gold label collection figures, and really the logic with some of the figure releases and why they become so scarce to find. Wildcat like this should be, I think, a regular released retail, commonly found figure. It should not be the kind of character that, like a Wonder Woman or like a Supergirl that we've looked at lately, where you really have to start looking online, checking at places like eBay, through Facebook selling groups. I speak only as certainly a Canadian collector. I know how hard it is as a collector here in Canada to try to find figures like this in stores. But like to get this guy at the price that he paid, I mean, for what I paid him for, he really should have been a reasonably priced figure and something that was very widely available, and that wasn't the case at all. This is also a gold label collection version of Wildcat. I don't know if that means that we're eventually going to be getting another release of him. I think definitely, though, there's a variant could be made available where they could have done basically the purple that we're seeing right here and doing it decked out in black instead. Granted, though, doing it in black would be a little harder to make out his eyes. His eyes are already pretty hard to spot. You can see that the pupils painted in there are nicely done. You can see as well, they've even added, are those jowls? I think those are the jowls of the cat. The whisker marks are also added in there as well. You got the fangs if I get my blasted finger out of the way. And I do like that they've added these little straps down the side. Yeah, all in all, it's a good-looking Wildcat. The body is something I'm sure we've seen constantly. I was trying to actually place the body they've used before. I mean, I say this only because as somebody has reviewed as many DC Multiverse figures, it's kind of really hard to like look at a body like this and pinpoint right away the body that they've used, but I'm sure they have used this body. I was kind of thinking like Batman, but I think the body's a little bit different from that. You guys can let me know down below in the comment section. But like body-wise, not really much is involved to tool anything new on here. So what they've done instead, you can see like they've painted or brushed on lightly, little bit of lighter paint around the front of the torso, and it makes appearances here on the shoulder. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't make any appearances on the top. It doesn't make any appearance. I don't think it really needs to belong on the top of his head anyways, but I feel like there's certain weird, strange placements of paints. I mean, he doesn't have it on the back of his body. He only, again, really has it here, and he has it here. Oh, and also a little bit on the top of the thigh as well. I do actually like the way they've handled the boots. Instead of actually just doing the traditional boot, what they've done instead is they've molded this in black plastic, and then they've airbrushed a transitional color of the black and how it blends into the blue. It looks like the blue is a little bit darker down below here, and then I guess that's probably one of the reasons why they airbrushed it here and right around here, just to add a little bit of lighter highlights. Of course, he does have the bandaged hands, the taped off hands. I like that they're dirty, they're gross, it probably looks like he's been pit fighting for a while. I mean, I would have liked really if considering this figure has the bare minimum when it comes to accessory counts, easily I think could be expected that the figure could have had at least gripping hands, something to swap out with the hands that he has. I don't know how suitable it really would have been for a multiverse release, but even bloody knuckles. Could we have gotten away with that? I think it would have been also a nice way to include something with the figure. He really does need a lot more than what you're looking at right now, because outside of this, he only had just a broken display stand, which admittingly I know I broke it on my own, and he also comes with, again, a very underwhelming imaged card. For the figure's articulation, though, Wildcat, as good of a head as he has, it's also pretty posable too. The head rotates all the way around. Even though he has these little flaps down the sides, it doesn't seem to impede at all the articulation. They've split it in just the right place, that even if you have the head down, for example, it doesn't seem to be getting in the way at all. Head can look up really high too, and you can also rock it back and forth as well. Wildcat's upper torso is on a ball joint, and as well it could be said, he has the same thing down below here in his abdomen area. You can do that the same. Hands rotate, or I should say the arms rotate all the way around. You can take both the arms, would you believe it? Yeah, I know. You can hinge them out at either a 90-degree angle, or if you prefer to call that a T-pose, because it looks, of course, like the capital T. The figure does have a swivel in the bicep, double hinge on the elbow, and the hands rotate all the way around. I do feel like that maybe the hands look like a little too large. A lot of it could be the illusion of having a smaller peg like this dividing the forearm to the hand, but it does look like he has oversized mitten hands. Anyways, the figure does have a split on his legs. He can go that far for splits. You can, of course, bring the legs, move them forward. You can move them back. Swivel at the top of the thigh, double hinge on the knee. And because, again, like the way they've done his boot, it's not an actual boot. It's just the suggestion of a boot. They've, again, being that it's airbrushed, all this calf piece is all one piece. So the only articulation that he has down below is mostly just in his ankles. They move up and down. They rock back and forth. And the figure does also have toe articulation as well. By also toe articulating this, you can see as well that, yeah, they've molded it. I don't know if I actually said they molded it in black plastic, but yeah, you can see, though, that they've actually molded this all in the same purple plastic and gone instead in there and painted the feet. When realistically, I mean, like the feet could have been just easily sculpted in black plastic, because after all, it is a separate piece that's attaching the rest of the figure's legs. Despite not liking the price that went along with Wildcat, man, oh man, I'm glad to finally have found this guy. At one point, though, I was kind of really scouring online to see what I would be able to find this guy for price-wise. But in the end, though, I went to a local toy store, and I kind of went in there with the idea that if they had anything new for DC Multiverse, especially like Wildcat, I would pick him up right away. Sure enough, though, as Lady Luck would have it, I found one of them. Just one of Wildcat, and that was really all the one I needed. I went up to the guy, I mean, again, he was selling for 80. I offered it 70, and he said, yeah, 70 is fine. And I thought to myself, whoosh, because really, if he was going to hardball that and say like, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to sell it for 80. I have other people interested. I wouldn't want to be the person that says, you know what, I'll think about it, walk away, and see another guy like lurking behind the boxes and watch him dash over to grab Wildcat instead. $70, I'm glad that I got it for the price that I did. $80, I probably would have still paid that. I know some would look at that and say like, man, oh man, like you got money to burn? No, I don't have money to burn. I do have though a select idea of certain characters I really want to add to my collection. I know we always get so many releases from DC Multiverse. A lot of them, again, are issued specific figures where, again, like you could look at that and say, I have no idea who this Batman is. When was this Joker ever looking this way in the comic? I know looking at this that it looks like Wildcat, and a good looking Wildcat too. I didn't think initially I was going to really like the airbrushing that they've added to the front of his chest. Again, it just looks like it's just thrown in there for the sake of throwing paint onto the figure. But I do like from a distance, it does add a really nice lighter highlight to the figure's body. It's a nice looking figure. I think it could also really work in a black color scheme as well, but he needs to be more available. In fact, that seems to be the case with a lot of, no, I should say a lot. There's a good handful of figures, and it seems to be really the ones that fans want the most, seem to be also the hardest ones to find. Wildcat should be, I think, a regular release. He should never have been a gold label collection, and he shouldn't have been the rarity that he ended up being. I really wish I could have found that DC Universe Classics Ted Grant Wildcat. Had both versions, the kind of that bluish purple, and then of course the black. Initially, though, I think I kind of like the black a little bit more. One thing, though, the benefiting of having this guy, the coloring that they gave him, is at least it gives the features on his face a chance to show and stand out. Because if you got to think about this, if the figure was all cast in black plastic, how really well would those eyes read? As well as the nose and, of course, little spots on his jowls. I definitely think the coloring that they chose is a lot better suitable for a Ted Grant and a Wildcat than going with black. Not to say, though, I mean, I'm not saying at all that I wouldn't be interested to get a black version of Ted Grant, but he has to be more available. I shouldn't have to pay the $70. I mean, I say that. I mean, somebody probably could easily just say, buddy, I've seen this guy. I've probably seen like 5 or 6 Wildcats at Target. They're not selling. Yeah, unfortunately, though, we don't have Targets here in Canada. So I'm left, though, at the mercy of either third parties, Facebook selling groups, eBay, all that fun stuff. And every chance I've tried to look up a Ted Grant, a Wildcat, unfortunately, the prices have always been really high. So I thought still I was saving. I was doing a pretty good job of getting this guy for $70. I know some would probably say like 70 is a bit too high to pay for a figure like this. I would say like you'd have to kind of be, unfortunately, in a position that we are, like Canadian collectors. It's hard. It's scarce to find figures like this in the wild. It never really ends up happening. So you have your Facebook, you have your eBay, or the off chance you can also check sometimes online sell sites where like maybe they might have had a Wildcat. And if they did, usually then you expect to pay like $80 to $100 on them. No lying, no fooling. $70 is a bit steep to pay, but I'm still in the end happy to have finally a Wildcat in my collection, a JSA Wildcat, and he looks the part. I'm not happy that he broke the peg on the bottom of the display stand, but he seems to be standing fine okay right now. Without the use of a display stand, I might just leave it off. I did actually take the peg off his foot, by the way, so I did fix that. I didn't fix the display stand, but I mean, I have like 300 of them, sure, those display stands. Having another one is not an issue at all. What do you guys think of Wildcat? Let me know down below in the comment section. Do you guys also struggle when it comes to being a collector and trying to find any figures? Let me know what you have when it comes to experiences of buying things in the wild. Can you easily go to a Target? Can you easily go to a store and find things like this regularly? Or are you somebody like myself that, has to rely so much more on online shopping than finding stuff in brick and mortar stores? If you guys did in the meantime enjoy this video, do it a solid, throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more? So I hope so. We're wrapping up things right now with the JSA, but there's going to be more things coming your way with the DC Multiverse figures. So of course you're coming back. I'm hoping for that. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.